Today is the 11th of May and it's the second day of the mega event, which is the third Smart Cities is one part of it. And I'd like to begin by welcoming you all here, as well as bidding you a very good morning. It's a slow start as usual. India does not seem to wish to change from the governmental bureaucratic attitude of starting work officially at 10. Unofficially, we don't know what time they start. Having said that, I'm delighted to request our panel and chair to join me on the stage. Sir, Mr. Vikram Tiwathia, can I request Dr. Nikhil Agarwal to join us on the stage, please? Mr. Ajoy Rajani, Mr. Jain, Anil ji, please join us. Mr. Deepak Sharma, Jens Hauggaard. Good morning, Jens, and welcome to India. If you don't live here, that is. If you live here, wonderful. And if you don't live here, we want you to live here. Dr. Krishna Kumar. Sir, good morning. Mr. Raghuram. Thank you, sir. Good morning to you. General Kochhar, sir. Good morning. Mr. Vinay Thapliyal. Vipin, sir. Good morning. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can I request some of you to come up to the front row? That'll be nice. Thank you so much. We have a large panel and we have a wonderful panel. And I can assure you that the discussions are going to be quite informative and interesting. The session that we are discussing today is communication network and infrastructure. We should have added a little bit more to it, in as much as we should have actually said how critical communication networks and infrastructure are in relevance to the new adage which is being discussed and talked about globally about smart cities. Does it form the critical underlay which will make cities be more responsive to the needs of citizens? So that is really the topic of discussion today. And I'm not going to get into the details of each individual person's CV, because that will take a little bit too much of time. And we want to cut short because we've already started late. But suffice it to say that Vikram Tiwathia is the DDG of COAI. Thank you. Dr. Nikhil Agarwal is Innovation Society IT. He's the CEO of Innovation Society IT Electronics and Communications Department of the Government of India. Ajoy Rajani is Senior Executive Vice President, Reliance Infrastructure. I believe that Anil Kumar Jain is CGM of BSNL. Mr. Deepak Sharma, Head of Presales and Solutions, Sterlite. Jens Hauggaard, Sales Manager for MinebeaMitsumi, New Zealand. I better put on my glasses. Dr. Krishna Kumar, Professor Aerospace Engineering, Ryerson University, and Founder and President of iSac Systems, Canada. You've come a long way. Thank you. Mr. Raghuram, Business Development, Technology and Corporate Strategy Advisor, Cognito Networks. They're also exhibiting. General Kochhar, who has a vast knowledge of communications infrastructure for the services, for the defense services, and is currently the CEO of the Telecom Sector Skills Council. Mr. Vinay Thapliyal is Head, MCU and RF Connectivity, India, for Microcontrollers Group STM, or STMicroelectronics, India. And Mr. Vipin, Tyagi, ladies and gentlemen, is Executive Director of C. India and is currently driving the new innovations that CDOT is developing, and not just driving innovations, but also driving commercialization. So with that, I'd like to leave the managing of this panel to Vikram, and you have till 11:30, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prem. As always, it's an honor to be here at the Smart Cities event, and this is increasing in stature, size, and participation as one sees in the exhibition hall as we were walking in. So compliments to the Exhibition India team and to all the participants and sponsors for being here together. And more importantly, I see an audience and delegates building up. So as Prem said, okay, it's warming up, and it'll be good to have a more participative, have more questions from you folks, because my panel members, when I see the background and the kind of experience they bring and the expertise that they have is really phenomenal. So please weigh in and utilize this occasion to smarten up yourselves on the smart city effort, right? With that, I'll begin by requesting Mr. Dr. Nikhil Agarwal. As was mentioned, he's CEO of the Innovation Society at Andhra Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh is taking a significant lead in the deployments of smart cities, and he himself has indicated that Visakhapatnam, Vizag, Tirupati, Kakinada, he's been overseeing the efforts there, and we request you to please come up and share your experiences.
Good morning, everybody. I belong to Delhi, though I live in Andhra Pradesh. So I always have a fascinating memories coming back to Pragati Maidan, when my father used to bring me here. And that was the only entertainment we used to have in November. We always remember that these halls filled with goodies and the smart gadgets and good food and continuous walking for all the time. So it is always a great memory coming back to Pragati Maidan. Unfortunately, we are not able to come back more often this time for the annual event, but it is always nice to come back here. So thanks a lot for organizing, inviting me. Thanks Dr. Rajan Matthews for moderating this session. It's a very large panel we have today, so I'm sure you have to digest a lot after the great breakfast of whatever the panelists has discussed. So I will try to be short. And I have allotted 10 minutes, so I will try to manage between below the 10-minute time. Now, the topic of my discussion is, since it is a smart city conclave, I thought it would be useful for you to understand how the smart city in Andhra Pradesh are doing, and some of the panelists I know that they are participating as the vendors and our partners in our smart city activities. So, welcome you all. So the question we always ask within the government is how we are making Andhra Pradesh cities smarter. So Government of India has given us 4 smart cities, which I will just talk about. Other than that, as far as Andhra Pradesh government is concerned, we have called all our cities as smart cities. Now, after the bifurcation, as you know, the new AP has become smaller, but probably more stronger. So we have the same legacy of Chandrababu Naidu, who has come with more experience, and he has now more expertise of running a bigger state. So now he is having a vision of transforming the Andhra Pradesh. So one of the very interesting vision in 2014 when the government was elected, so he gave a vision that Andhra Pradesh to be the most innovative society in the country, and we should have one entrepreneur in every family. Now that's a very promising vision if you see from the politician, that how you do one entrepreneur in every family, how do you make the whole society as the most innovative society. So everything is communication, infrastructure, it all boils down to together. So I'm sure I will not go through these slides which says the smart city is all you need to know. You all know about smart cities, all of you are well educated enough what is going on in smart city. But what different we are doing, that I will speak about. There are 4 smart cities in Andhra Pradesh, we have Visakhapatnam, Tirupati, Kakinada, Vijayawada, and I am calling Amravati. Initially, there were 3 announced by the government, and the 4th one we are building upon, and I am sure everybody will be intrigued to know more about Amravati, so I will spend some little bit of time in Amravati. What is Amravati, where it is happening, what we have done to make Amravati the new capital. So there were certain smart criteria we had. So CM Naidu has tried to get smart city tag for every city, but it will be in the less than 40 lakh population category. So we have created social infrastructure, we are developing physical infrastructure. Some of you have traveled to Andhra Pradesh, and since I belong to northern states, so I can do a comparison without anybody raising an eyebrow. In northern states like UP or Haryana, where you travel, the road conditions are not very good. So during the summer time, when my kids have recently come to back home to visit Nana Nani, I was always afraid that there will be no electricity for 15 days, how they will survive. In Andhra Pradesh, electricity never goes. We are power surplus state. Surprisingly, we don't have Hyderabad, but that's one of the most foremost thing for any smart city or a smart state is that we need to have a proper infrastructure. Road condition is so good that within Vijayawada to Tirupati, it is almost 400 kilometers. And for the first time I did, 6-7 months back, I did a road trip from Vizag to Tirupati. It took me just 4.5 hours. It's unbelievable. Same infrastructure we do Vijayawada and Hyderabad practically every week, since most of the family lives in Hyderabad and we work out of Amravati, and approximately 5 hours we do 300 kilometers including Vijayawada traffic and Hyderabad traffic. So road conditions are so good, it's unbelievable. If you are proud of your Delhi-Chandigarh highway, if you are proud of your Delhi-Jaipur highway, or if you are proud of your Pune-Bombay highway, please visit Andhra Pradesh. You will become more prouder, I am sure. So first city we have announced in the central government is Kakinada and Visakhapatnam. They are twin cities. They are just 300 kilometer distance between them. It's a vibrant navy, cargo, passenger ports. They are fantastic industrial towns. They have a potential to become a coastal powerhouse for the country. In fact, there is a continuous discussion between the state government and the central government that how we can start the Shenzhen style zone in these two cities. Imagine the two cities which are fairly mature cities, and we create a coastal zone in 300 kilometers. How many jobs it will create? It is unimaginable to think the kind of housing opportunity, kind of infrastructure opportunity, kind of network opportunity. It will be probably second to none. We can create one of the strongest economic zone, economic activity in this area if this dream come true. Kakinada, we already have #1 anchor port. It's one deep sea port, and it's also known as a fertilizer capital of Andhra Pradesh. Visakhapatnam is a fairly mature city. It's the industrial capital of Andhra Pradesh, largest port in AP. We have an international airport. And AP also, you must be surprised to know that we have 6 functional airports. I don't think even Maharashtra has 6 functional airports. Functional airport means that they are not locked down, but the routine flights goes every day. And just now, if you have read in the newspaper, a week back, Prime Minister has agreed upon making Vijayawada as an international airport. So now we will have more than 3 international airports, Tirupati, Visakhapatnam and Vijayawada, 3 international airports in 13 districts. So it's a fairly fantastic infrastructure that we have. I'm sure everybody knows about Tirupati, but Tirupati, we know more for the Lord Balaji. It's the biggest religious town in the world. We receive around 100,000 visitors every day. I was in Shirdi this particular weekend, and one of my relatives is the CEO for the Shirdi Trust. And I was studying the model between TTD, like Tirupati and Shirdi. Shirdi still receive around 47 to 50,000 visitors every day. On the peak of the festivals, Shirdi receive around 100, 150,000 visitors every day. At the peak of the festival, we receive almost 500,000 visitors every day. Imagine 500,000 visitors coming every day and leaving. What kind of infrastructure you need? That's a different smart city challenge altogether. The more visitors come into the town every day than the resident population. How do you handle that? How do you tackle that? We have excellent hospitality infrastructure, domestic airport for commercial and trade use, knowledge capital for industry, institute for national importance. So we have given IIT, ISR, two top university, SV University, Andhra University in Tirupati. We have a world-class incubator called our Accelerate with UT Austin and FICCI. We have also set up a mobile manufacturing zone. If you come out of the Tirupati airport, you will see all the top 5 mobile manufacturers, right? We have given 20 acres of land. Siri City, if you have heard about industrial zone, one of the most mature and the fascinating industrial zone, where Foxconn, Isuzu, those kind of companies of 5,000 acres, that is in Tirupati. So Tirupati is not only the God's town, but it is a God's blessed town, what we call. Now this is something which we are very proud of. Amravati, so it's an extremely bold step. I would say no other than Nara Chandrababu Naidu can take this step in the country, announcing a new capital which does not exist. You will be surprised that when the new Naya Raipur or Gandhinagar was made, it was extension of existing city. So what is a smart city? A smart city is something, a city already exists, as a cake already exists, you are putting icing on it and you are putting cherry on the top. You are trying to make it smarter. But this city does not exist. There is nothing called Amravati. There is a small gaon called Amravati, or I don't know, it's a combination of gaon, Velgapudi, Amravati, this and that. We don't even know the names. Chandrababu bringing all the 30,000 acres, he convinced the farmers that kindly pull in 30,000 of acres of land and become the partner in development Amravati. Now what you see on the left, this is the current Amravati, that's the highest structure, Buddha Pratima is the highest structure, is approximately 5 or 6 story tall. There is no structure more than 2 stories in entire Amravati. You can finish, if you start running, you will finish Amravati in 3 minutes. It is that large as of now. So it's practically nothing. And tomorrow, what we are looking at the right, I'm not showing you the dream. I'm not showing you something from the future fiction. This is 2030. In 2030, the work has already started. If you come today, the blocks have started coming in. The first few structures are coming in. This will be tomorrow. It will be better capital than any other capital in the world. Why it is so? Because city is not born. We are making it smarter before it is born. Imagine the opportunities that you have in terms of experimentation. Whatever concepts you have built up regarding network infrastructure, communication, smart lighting, smart this, smart that, everything can be done before it starts. So in fact, jokingly, we call this city as a Krishna. Krishna was in Indian mythology, he was a perfect man. Chhattis Guna. So before the city is born, we are giving it Chhattis Guna. So that's an opportunity. If you think in terms of business, 30,000 acres of land has to be built up. Every single building has to be networked. Every single person need to provide a communication. It's an outstanding opportunity to come and work there. Not only the smart city, we are also cognizant of the fact that Andhra Pradesh is a poor state. So we started working on probably for the first prototype of smart village. So we tied up with UC Berkeley and the Garwood Center for Open Innovation, and we implemented a project last year. It's called Smart Village. There is a small village near Rajmundri called Mori, and we bought more than 30 companies, some of the most senior executives of Google, Microsoft, and you name it. We bought them to Mori, and there's a 8,000 population of this village. We transformed this village. Now every single human being in this village is connected. 8,000 human beings in the village are connected through AP FiberNet, 40 Mbps, 149 rupees a month. So there is some phenomenal work in Andhra Pradesh in the last 2 years we have done. This village has now become the first self-contained sustainable business model and is an ecosystem and is a brand of its own. So there is what the Honorable CM always says, that we have to not only think about smart city or a smart village, is a smart Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh should become a model state for every other state. There are a lot of replications which are happening. I would invite you, if you can note down one or two website address, it will be useful since the time is less. core.ap.gov.in, core.ap.gov.in. That's, we are the first one to implement a dashboard, CM dashboard, and the kind of information which CM gets every day through various data analytical channel is quite noteworthy. So I would like to invite you all to come to our upcoming beautiful capital Amravati. If you want to take a dip, come to Visakhapatnam. If you want to bless with God, come to Tirupati. I am sure you won't be disappointed in your next holiday. Thank you very much.
So that's quite interesting. In Tirupati, you got more visitors come in than residents, and it would be for many other cities as well. I mean, if you see any of the hill stations, often, it happens. But Nikhil, we know you got to leave at 11 o'clock. So a couple of questions let me pose, and how we are addressing that. Now, you're talking of a greenfield city in Amravati. So you would have, in your planning, what is the bandwidth requirement per square kilometer for what kind of population, so that the network which is there, companies interested in rolling out the network, because the session's about networks, right? So what kind of networks have you built into your planning at this stage, and who all are your partners who are likely to participate in that? I've done estimate for South Bombay example, like you showed 1900 households in 8,000 population. So if every person has to have at least a 2 Mbps connectivity or whatever 5 gig connectivity, for Amravati, what is the planning and whom should we talk to?
So first I will answer your last question. There is an organization called CCRDA, which is Capital Region Development Authority. So anybody who is interested in talking to, they should speak with them. It's an empowered committee headed by a senior IS officer, and there is a minister in charge for CCRD, because development of capital itself is running a state kind of stuff. So it's a huge responsibility. To answer your second question, I would like to, I'm not sure whether you heard about AP FiberNet.
I've heard of AP FiberNet. Essentially, if you want a company, he's going to come in next, Deepak. If Deepak from Sterlite wants to come and say, in Amravati district, in this square kilometer, how much connectivity requirement is there and how much of fiber he should put now so that it lasts till 2030?
So currently, what our plan is that through AP FiberNet, we are providing 40 Mbps of connectivity for everybody.
Per individual or per square kilometer or per how?
Per individual.
Per individual.
Per individual. We are providing 40 Mbps connectivity, and in fact, it is one of the cheapest network bandwidth cost in the world, 149 rupees a month. Anybody can go and take it. And it's a case study of itself. Since there is no time, I would not like to dip into it. But do look out for AP FiberNet, that how we have built up this infrastructure. However, the AP FiberNet has to be upgraded and modified over a period of time. So there is a different planning, and planning is going on for building up a next level of infrastructure for Amravati. So if you visit the CCRD site, you will get all the information, and my contact details are with the organizers, those who wish to contact me. If you have any innovative ideas, since I am head of innovation, anything, I'll be delighted to come. You are welcome to Vijayawada and meet.
Thank you so much. When you get back, I would request you to also push the government from the state government point of view for wireless backhaul. because as much fiber that you put, but over short distances, so the E band and the V band, and you're talking of 2030, so 5G would be around starting off in another 2020 onwards. So to make Amravati, at least besides the other smart cities you're working on, 5G ready, because we'll have other speakers talk about IoT and all, and the number of devices that will go in. So hope you factor that in. So thank you very much, Nikhil, and that gives me a segue into requesting Deepak, because Sterlite is a leading company, especially for laying out fiber, and he was saying that they've won the project for Kakinada, and they've done good work in Jaipur. And I request all the speakers to just be from your current place itself, 5 minutes about whatever you're doing. Okay.
Thanks, Vikram. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thanks to EI for putting up such an impressive show, organizing this event. We have been participating in this expo for 2 years in a row, and every time we come, we get more intelligent. Last time we saw most of these elements were, most of these booths were actually filled with presentations and, standees, but this time we see a lot of difference. A lot of new innovative solutions have come up. Especially our stalls have also become quite intelligent, and as we execute and do more smart city rollouts, Sterlite has gained a wide experience in this particular arena, which is why we started with Gandhinagar and Jaipur as one of the showcase cities, even though they were not part of the 100 smart cities, but we felt there is a need to actually start somewhere. At some point of time, we need to get into the execution mode rather than just talking about it. So Gandhinagar and Jaipur were those kind of solutions which are basically built upon a lease line model. We just won one of the prominent cities in Andhra Pradesh, which Dr. Nikhil was also talking about. As you see, broadband has become such a ubiquitous need. We just talked about, in olden times we used to talk about roti, kapda and makan are the only essential needs. But broadband has become the fourth essential need. Without broadband, just can't think of any of those innovations that have just started creeping up. You talk about any of those new startups or new ICT enablers, broadband has been the quintessential need, so something that just goes under the ground. People just don't see that, fiber essentially is not most of the time not visible. Just goes, deep into the ground and just sits there, keeps doing its job of delivering quite a lot of broadband speed onto users. And that has been one of the greatest enablers of the smart cities. Like all of these sensors, 5Gs we are talking about, 5G essentially would come about, around 2020. But this is the time when we should start thinking of those kind of infrastructure that should be put into the cities. As Dr. Nikhil was talking about Amravati, this is the time, when you make up a greenfield city, you start thinking of putting up all those kind of infrastructure in place so that you don't need to dig up the city roads when new operators or when new kind of incumbent players have to, get more reach and broadband. With that being said, Sterlite has been pioneer in this area and set up a Sterlite Academy wherein, we kind of skill people who have been doing this kind of jobs of fiber laying, so that those kind of fibers actually sit there and just give their for their own lifetime of, like, say 20-25 years. So with that intent, we started up Sterlite Academy, and we started training people who can then be the next kind of batch which will enable the kind of smarter networks that we think of. And we also set up 2 centers of excellence, one in Aurangabad and one in Gurgaon. That is a place wherein, we have talked about starting from how the fiber laying should be done, how the network should be looking like, a 3-tier architecture where you have an, core aggregation access up to the last mile, how those should be built and designed. And on top of it, you have a nice data center architecture wherein, you deploy applications. And then when we deploy the applications, you always should be thinking about putting up an analytical layer, because the kind of humongous data that is being generated by the cities, there should be a tapping point where you can, tap all those data points and then kind of make those kind of intelligent insights which will actually deliver the kind of smartness that people are looking forward. Just putting up a Wi-Fi or camera won't deliver the kind of intelligence or smartness that people talk about. It's actually the analytics of data. There are a lot of good work being done in India in terms of standardization of all those smart city metrics. So Sterlite has also been involved in that, and we kind of start developing, those kind of solutions where we see that, the kind of data being generated by the city is actually being harnessed and, put onto those kind of intelligent insights that the city can get. So somewhere, Dr. Nikhil was talking about a core dashboard of a state. So something of that sort should be present in a city where we say that, the city was so and so on this date, and now we have progressed so and so in these kind of metrics. So that's a kind of pioneering work that we should be doing in smart cities, and we see, there is a lot of differences in the way smart cities are being implemented, and we feel that, there is a need for standardization of at least some of those thoughts that would help, build the kind of cities that we are thinking and talking about at this point of time.
Thanks, Deepak. That's interesting. So you're doing wonderful work, and one of the challenges for all this is right of way to lay out the fiber. Actually, I'll come to that a little later. But with that, I'll turn to the oldest telecom operator in the country we have, BSNL. They have huge amounts of experience, manpower, infrastructure, and everything with them. I mean, all resources are available. So I'll request Mr. Anil Kumar Jain, who is the CGM and is overseeing the NGN efforts and the smart city efforts. So has BSNL signed up as a partner with any of the identified smart cities? And if you have or are intending to, so what are the solutions you're looking at, for the identified smart cities, and what BSNL intends to do?
Thank you, Vikram. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. When I look at the development of smart city, it brings the memories of my school days when we used to, think about Harappan, Mohenjo-daro, and we always think that, long time back when civilization started, people started thinking of organizing themselves and making the life in such a way that which is more dependent on each other and also productive and make use of more and more natural resources. Cities have developed in the country also, and there is a variety of situation today. If you look at the city of Mumbai and Delhi, as well as the villages, maybe semi-urban areas, there is a vast difference. It is very heartening to know that Honorable Prime Minister has brought the topic of smart city and development of smart cities in the country. What is the problem which the municipal corporations and various administrators like Dr. Neeraj Agarwal, who spoke from Andhra Pradesh, is facing today? Population is increasing, resources are limited. There are a lot of pressures which are happening on the population today, whether it is in the civil amenities, hospitals, entertainment, education, healthcare, or the living styles and the crime and corruptions which is happening as the city grows. When the city grows and when we have to actually go and grow along with it, the social, political, economical and cultural integration is required to see that the population is able to cope up with the additional demand which is happening. Now in today's world, when we are talking about smart city, in addition to whatever I have spoken, technology is also getting integrated with all the social, economical, political and cultural integration. Now what is technology basically? How technology is going to help? Today if we see in the urban area, if your mobile is off for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, you feel cramps coming in the stomach and I am out of touch, I am out of word, I am not able to speak. And that is what is the integration of technology which is required in smart cities today. And the basic component of the technology which is going to build up and integrate with smart city is communication. Why communication? Because if we see what is smartness in cities, smartness is today like we are using mobile phone, it is an individual property. You know, I use mobile phone, Vikram use mobile phone, Mr. Vipin Tyagi mobile phone. They are all different entities. That is what we do as a telecom operator. We do the retail business more. And if we talk about the enterprise business, that is very, very limited if we talk about the managed services. In smart city, it is all a group activity, a technology which has to be developed for the whole city, for the whole community. For example, if we integrate everything and all my traffic is dependent on IoT, my parking is dependent on IoT, my energy is dependent on IoT. Think of a situation if the telecommunication network goes down, the city comes at halt. You don't know where to park. You don't know where the traffic has to go, when the street light has to be up or street light is not to be there. So there is a different challenges which are coming up for we as a telecom operator, we as an infrastructure provider in telecom also in smart city. Now in smart cities, along with the main, because all these activities, for example, I used to talk in municipal corporations, there are different departments today. You have a horticulture department, you have a transport department, you have an energy department. They are different and they are working entirely different. With smart city, everybody has to come and integrate together. So there is a concept called central command center in smart city, which integrate all these applications, and we are able to smoothly, synchronously monitor this. Now this is one, which is not the forte of telecom operators like us. But the basic infrastructure for smart city is optical fiber, which my friend Dr. Neeraj has also spoke about AP fiber net. The Wi-Fi. If you talk about any smart city which has come, the common requirement in all smart cities is Wi-Fi. Then we talk about, because the technology is going to have a huge data, which Vikram was also talking to Deepak and also from Dr. Neeraj, how much data, how much bandwidth. So if the bandwidth is going to be to the tune of 50 Mbps per customer or per house, 100 Mbps, or some of our friends have estimated maybe 1 Gbps per house is the requirement of data. If such big data is happening, and which we have seen with the Geo coming, and because of Geo, the data consumption in this country has gone up, the number one in the world. We have already crossed China and US. So what is going to happen in case 1 Gbps in every house through optical fiber is going to happen? So it is the handling of the data. That is why the cloud computing and the remote cloud computing has become important. So I have spoken 2-3 things. Number one, fiber, which is important. Number two, Wi-Fi, which is a prevalence common factor in smart city which is happening. Third, I have spoken about the cloud computing, the internet data centers. Now these are the 3 areas which are very important and basic bricks for building up one by one the smart cities. If we talk about BSNL, BSNL, all of you know, is a very old organization. If we talk about the previous organization, DOT, now in 2000, the DOT has divided the policy making as a DOT and operating unit as BSNL. We started our journey in 1881 when the first telegraph line was built up between Kolkata and Karachi. So one of the biggest telecom company you can say in the world, and we are operating with the largest number of telecom exchanges with 36,000 telephone exchanges spread across the country, which is perhaps the largest. Now in smart city, what we feel is the role of BSNL is number one, laying optical fiber throughout the country. I'll just inform you, during 2016-17, BSNL alone has laid more than 80,000 route kilometer of optical fiber throughout the country, which is one of the highest, I think, in the history of telecom by any telecom operator. This is how we are expanding the telecom operator. We already have more than 1 lakh square feet of internet data center which is available, and we have more than 13 internet data centers which are offering cloud and various enterprise services to the people. As far as Wi-Fi is concerned, BSNL has started its journey in 2015. Today we are the biggest Wi-Fi operator in the country with more than 6,000 Wi-Fi hotspots, which are initially present at all the tourist and religious places. Now we are spreading very fast. This year we have a plan to add around 40,000 Wi-Fi hotspots, and next year around 4 million Wi-Fi hotspots. So we plan to carpet the whole country with the Wi-Fi. The advantage of this particular thing is that Wi-Fi gives a 4G experience to the customer at peanuts, because the money which is being given by the customer to telecom operator in Wi-Fi is almost 1/10 than what money we are paying in mobile data use or landline broadband data use. Wi-Fi we are also empowering with two more facilities. One is mobile data offload. Mobile data offload is that if you are a 3G customer or 4G customer, and if you come to the mobile Wi-Fi zone, you directly get converted from your mobile spectrum to Wi-Fi where there is no spectrum use. Your experience of data enhances by 1.5 times, and your money which you are paying to the operator will go down. So this is a win-to-win situation. Another thing which we are adding, which not other operators, many operators are really interested in, providing a speech, and that too a transparent movement from one Wi-Fi hotspot to another Wi-Fi hotspot. So we are actually building up the basic stone of smart city in the whole country. The question which Vikram has asked, let me answer. We are on our own, are going and building the smart city. We have already got the work in Dharamshala. We have already got the work in Bhagalpur of Bihar. We have already got the work in Hubli and Dharwad in Karnataka. And we are likely to get more work in other type 1, type 2 cities of this country, because it is government to government. And coming to the partners which we have to get a partner for the Central Command and Control Center. We have to get the partner for sensors and the applications, software applications which we have to go and build up. We are working on our partners. We have some partners which are already working with us. As I said, the Wi-Fi and optical fiber laying and internet data center. We are building up and getting more partners in future. We propose, and that is what we see as a dream, BSNL to be seen as the biggest smart city deployer and provider in this country. That is what BSNL has a dream, and let us hope that with all the partners together, we should be able to make the dream of our Prime Minister a reality and workable.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. I think it's interesting that there is a dream. The important part is how do you deliver, how do you actually implement, because the pace at which the networks are getting deployed. Let me share with all of you. Just on 2nd, the DOT has launched a web portal called tarangsanchar.gov.in, where you can see every mobile tower and what technology it has across the country. So it also shows you the EMF exposure levels, but more importantly, if you intend to pick up a 3G or a 4G connection, you can see where you live and who all are the people who have coverage out there. So that's a bit of a side one, but of course BSNL, I'm sure, will be doing tremendous work going ahead. I think now I'll turn to Jens, who's coming from Switzerland, and he's got. Please join me in conveying our appreciation to Dr. Nikhil Agarwal. He has another appointment and he would be leaving. Thank you so much, Nikhil. So back to you, Jens. So you've done tremendous work in IoT and network deployments, and share with us your experiences from Switzerland.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here in New Delhi today and on this big event here. Let me just introduce Paradox Engineering very briefly. We are a Swiss company. We are located in the southern part of Switzerland. And what we do IoT networks and high-speed networks. The company actually is founded in 2005, and at that time it was the start of Internet of Things, because what we managed to do is to bring data from power stations via satellite back to headquarters and use this data to evaluate the machines around the world. That evolved, and since 2015 we were acquired by MinebeaMitsumi from Japan, and MinebeaMitsumi is a big group with around 100,000 employees around the world, and we with them develop now the complete platform and the different markets around the world for smart city. Let's say introduce a bit with the system. The core of our system is an open platform. I think it's very dangerous today for many municipalities and communities around the world to go into a login with a manufacturer. So the idea right from 2005 in Paradox Engineering were to have an open platform based on open standards. So what we do, we have an end-to-end solution for streetlight control, we have an end-to-end solution for parking management, and this is built on an open network infrastructure. We use IEEE standards. We base the system on the Internet Engineering Task Force idea of bringing the IoT devices together. We use the 6 low PAN standard, IPv6, for the narrowband communication, and for the broadband communication, I think we heard some good things about fiber optic. I see fiber optic as the backbone moving into the last mile, and then we have the Wi-Fi solutions on top of this, and into the Wi-Fi solution you can then have the IoT communication for the narrowband communication of the devices. We typically state that the Internet of Things starts with the streetlights, and we have a narrowband communication solution for the streetlights. And the streetlights today are very interesting because they are positioned in a very well position within the streets and in the community. And with those, we can build an RF mesh network having devices talking to each other. And that is how, let's say, our system is built. We work with a fairly big company in Europe, it's Osram. And Osram, when you buy lights from them that communicates, our technology is inside the lamps. But also, it's possible to buy also or use the chipset. So you can have a chipset, you can buy an open standard chipset from STMicro, Texas Instrument, based on the 6 low PAN technology, and use the same network. So it would be easy, with less resources, to build new applications for your, let's say, Indian applications for waste management, for smart metering, and then to utilize the same open networks. So our network brings then the data through the gateway to the database, and the database is also an open database. Obviously, you need to have the login, the passwords to the database, but you can use the data, and you can use the data for other applications. We are, for example, together with Cisco, and Cisco have a CDP platform, and they read out the data from our system in several cities in Europe. So let's say the system is interoperable, and we use the open standard. I think this is the key. We are represented at the Swiss stand here in Hall 11, and feel free to come and, let's say, learn a bit more details around the system. I'll be happy to clarify.
Jens, thank you so much. I think that's a very important point that you bring out, is because there'll be a variety of systems operating, let's say the water management, the parking, the transportation, accommodation, power, etc. But how do the devices talk to each other? So the open network and a standardized approach, and of course with the sheer number of devices, V6 implementation is very important. I think this discussion hasn't taken off in India, and you know, when I come to you, Mr. Tyagi, maybe within the DOT, I think, or within CDOT, DOT and ourselves, industry, we need to start talking about, common standards for IoT deployments or for smart city deployments. So that discussion hasn't started yet. So some thoughts that you could share, what should be done for our approach as the smart city deployments start happening, because typically it is state governments or state technology team, such as the one Nikhil is heading, will lay out some contracts with individual vendors, and when you got to talk to maybe another state, I see it as a big challenge. Your thoughts?
I think, first of all, Exhibition India always does a great job, so I'm glad to be here. And Vikram has touched the right point. See, what we have to realize, this is public infrastructure that we are creating. The difference between the earlier and the new infrastructure which is required for the smart cities is a utility. It's not like individual enterprise business or the consumer business. Utilities have to have certain basic parameters. If you take electricity, plug, if everybody was putting his own electricity plug, you will not be able to, use any one of your equipment apart from your home. That's why there is a need for a standardization. The important thing is that this smart city is all about the creativity of the local people to establish, change, modify, bring about new things. It's a living entity. It's not going to be that you put it and then tomorrow the job is done. It's not a project. Consequently, there is a need for having a common services layer, and I'll tell you in a minute what it means. The world has realized that for the smart city, all the services, every sensor should be able to talk to every application, number one. Every application should have authorization to get the information from wherever it is available, whether it is computer or the sensor or any middleware aggregation point. Consequently, there is a need for us to have a one M2M kind of a standard. The standard is created by 8 standard bodies, including 3GPP, ETSI, China's standardization body, Japan's standardization body. They all have come together. CDOT has been contributing in that making of that standard since the time we heard about the smart city being raised in India. 110 contributions have been made by us, and then what we did is we also did the interop in Korea so that it doesn't become one region's problem. We also did interop in France. We did interop in Japan. Interop means other applications are able to come in. We are able to have different devices connected with the common services layer, and we are able to deliver whatever is required so that it is changeable, dynamic. Then what has happened is that Korea has already adopted. Korea is a little bit ahead in broadband, we all of us know. So they have adopted one M2M standard. Now, there is an organization called TSDSI, Telecom Standard Development Society India. They have transposed this standard. They're going to finish that transposition by 2nd of June. And this is almost, there is a consensus globally that we need to have this kind of a standard before we put that, number one. Now I'll come to second question which was asked. How much bandwidth should be there? First of all, and Vikram talked about the 5G goals to be met and all of that. I think simply the way traffic is growing, if we put the same formula, it is growing because somebody is consuming it, right? So your need today, 100 Mbps per person, whether it is a mobile device or whether it is a static. If you are provisioning less than 100 Mbps, it is under provisioning. Then it has to grow to 1 gig over a period of time, few years. Consequently, the infrastructure which is at aggregation has to be having at least 10 gigabit per second. At the first point of aggregation, you require the core of which is terabytes in capacity. CDOT, what we have done, we have the fiber to the desk, fiber to the building, fiber to the desk solution, fiber to the building solution, fiber in the campus solution, fiber solution for the entire city, and core which goes as much as 16 terabit per second on a single fiber. Now, if we want to have that kind of a capacity is required at this point in time if we are planning something. Otherwise, we'll be committing second mistake. First mistake is, we put the infrastructure of the GSM, and then we have call drops, we had because we didn't take Indian conditions into into account. So this kind of a thing is not available anywhere else in the world, the density of population. Consequently, it is very important for us to see that we create Indian solutions here, we manufacture it here, we have the apps written by youngsters, we create platform which will make this city secure. Security is one of the very important, and I'll give you just one example without being alarmist. If I have programmed a machine, kept it somewhere on the public infrastructure, all it says that on so and so date, just put an actuator on and it blasts a bomb. Whom will you catch? How will you catch? Where will you get the information from? Who will be held accountable? What LEAs will do, law enforcement agencies will do? These are all important questions which we are not asking now, which need to be asked, and these are all part of these standards that we are talking about.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tyagi. I think there are many open questions. The point is that, okay, for Delhi, is NDMC talking to BSNL for the fiber? Because NDMC is an identified smart city zone. Similarly, is Chandigarh talking to others? So these are, because the coordination level required for a smart city is quite a lot. And who will bell the cat? Is the Department of Telecom in charge of smart cities? So far, our understanding is Department of Urban Affairs. Has the Urban Affairs Ministry put out what is the connectivity requirement for each identified smart city and what network, type of network is required? Is something I think we need to get down and huddle in for a discussion. With that, I'll turn to, we have Dr. Krishna Kumar, who's an expert on satellite systems. And he's got numerous awards in France and in Canada, Ontario, Japan. So over to you for the satellite portion in a smart city.
Good morning to everyone. So I'll be delighted to talk on smart city solutions. I think let me try to, especially for disaster management and using satellites and wireless sensor networks. I will just talk a smart city and then move down to disaster management and satellites and case study and iSac products, what we have in the market. As everyone has already stated the definition, so I will not repeat it, but it's well known that it incorporates IoT and ICT technologies. And as for the definition of Frost and Sullivan, there are all smart governance, smart energy, and so on. Right. So let's talk about the disasters, right? One thing is certain, right, that smart city should be basically, right, we should safeguard smart city from natural disasters. But if you should see the record, what is happening now, natural disasters are becoming more frequent. As it says, the fourth increase from 1970 to 2013. Year 2013 alone, we have 22 million people are affected by disasters. And in Asia, typhoon has already displaced 90 million and so on, right? So if we try to see, on other hand, urbanization has been increasing. Already more than 3.5 million people, half of the world population, now lives in town and cities. And by 2030, we have 5 million people. As we know, in recent years, we are talking about smart cities. So it is pertinent that immune to disasters represents one of the most pressing needs for the development of smart cities. Now, what's the solution actually for it? Now, as for disaster management, the whole system, organization and management of resources and responsibilities for dealing with all humanitarian aspects of emerging, in particular preparedness, response and recovery, in order to lessen the impact of disaster. So one thing is certain, disaster we cannot stop, but we can certainly lessen the impact of disaster. In this domain, satellites definitely represent one of the viable solutions, because when infrastructure basically totally is in a very bad position actually, then satellites is one of the best solution to do. Okay, so this is just a pictorial view how the satellites are connected with different, units. You can also see where is IoT is on the ground and all the data is being through the satellites. So this is just architecture of what we have actually. And if we move to the next is another architecture where the satellite is basically linked with a mobile phone, etc., right? Now, what I like to certainly tell you that what the satellites can do and where the satellites are located. So if we see the meteorological satellites, also known as weather satellites, this can certainly track, we can track cyclone, what we are doing already. We can also track intensity and landfall predictions and forecasting of extreme weather events. Now, this is just a view of the current satellites deployed here. And as you can see from the view, we have got the satellites in GEO, which is around 36,000 kilometers, and also variety of low Earth orbit satellites, right? So that's what the complete picture currently. So we have got 14 geostationary satellites and variety of satellites in low Earth orbit. And these satellites are basically can provide you information about the disaster actually. In addition, what is going to happen in next 5 years? What has been decided by meteorological, world meteorological organizations, we are going to have another 8 satellites, geostationary satellites to be deployed, and these are some of the satellites which will be, you can see, in geostationary orbit, which is basically on this equatorial arc. Also, we have the satellites in other locations for Russia, Molnia, etc. So this is what has been planned actually. So we are basically, these satellites can certainly help to know when the disaster is going to happen and how the remedy can be taken place, right? Now, there are other satellites also are used in conjunction with these satellites. So we have Earth observation satellites, which basically monitor disaster events and assessing the damages. We also incorporate communication satellite, emergency communication, because communication network is broken when disaster occurs. So emergency communication in remote and inaccessible areas, and finally navigation satellites to basically provide you location-based services. Now, at present, India has the following. So just I'm trying to put the perspective for India. India has the following satellites in operation only for disaster management, which is from the record of April 5th, 2017. So we have Earth observation satellite 13, we have meteorological satellite 3, communication satellite 13, and navigation satellites. Now the next important point is the response time. How long does it take to know about the information? All of these satellites, as you have seen, some satellites in LEO, and we have in GEO. GEO definitely orbital time is 24 hours, but you can within 12 hours satellite data can be received, and you can have 3 hours processing data. So this is the time it takes in order to provide you any useful information from the satellite. Now, I definitely like to, as we have wireless sensor networks, this is just networks in the ground. It can also be in a space where the sensor data can be processed. Let's move on the disaster management support system. So what we do basically at the end, we do the fusion of the data. So data taken from meteorological and Earth observation satellite, that's the key data. That is merged with the data from the ground-based information system, including wireless sensor networks. Then we add further on services derived from communication and navigation satellites. So from this, we finally receive the data. What products we delivered in the market, what we have. Basically, right, we have got the integrated solutions. We provide complete monitoring systems as well as data analytics package. Now, what is the uniqueness of this? First of all, we definitely focus on miniaturization of the unit, right? As well as miniaturization of the satellite itself. We are working on the satellite, which is 100 grams. So what satellites you have in the mobile phone, that's what we are about to launch in space. So the cost of the satellites will decrease, and the number of satellites we are trying to increase more. So it is basically in 1,000 satellites, and in that architecture becomes more like robust, since if any one of the satellites fail, still you can receive the data from other satellites. So the whole focus is how we can miniature the electronics actually. That's what we try to focus on. Second part is data analytics part, right? So the whole point is, okay, you have the all infrastructure, you are receiving the data, but what can you do with the data analytics so that you can predict when the disaster can happen? So we focus on data analytics completely, as somebody has already spoken about cloud computing. So we focus on Hadoop open source system actually, where data analytic algorithm we develop, and the key part of the algorithm is actually that not only the data what you know actually about the system, but you can derive useful information from the data even if the direct correlation is not available. That is what we focus on, that piece actually. So some of the systems I will go quickly actually. So this is the features. So let's go to this. So this is what the satellites we developed, actually 100 grams, and we'll be launching next year. This is what the satellite will be used in conjunction with the 3U. These are some of the patented technology what we developed at my company. Now, we are already working for the monitoring system for aircraft landing gear, so where IoT can certainly help a lot to know when the landing gear failure can occur. So that has been deployed to the company actually, right? Now, this is some of the features which I will not talk. We also have developed for aircraft wing assembly. Whole desire is the wing in the process. Both sides should be symmetrical. So we have already developed the wireless IoT products to the company. This company is Mitsubishi Aerospace company in Canada actually. Now, we also developed the IoT product for the train application. Actually, what you see there, that's a transmitter, and we also have a receiver, what you can see during the demonstration phase, which basically monitor the train, and anytime you can know when the bogie or especially wearing is going to fail actually. Right, bearing. We also developed product for waste management sector actually, right? And then for this is on the tablet to see how the behavior is, also for environmental monitoring. We also have the product for the gas monitoring, right? We'll just show you some of the how the sensors are linked with the wireless network and finally deliver to the base station. So these are the gases we monitor on 24/7 basis. So some of the graphical display. We also have the tank level monitoring, which has been deployed in Florida in 1,000 in numbers. Also, we developed for monitoring of the food actually, web-based application to monitor, means what should be the temperature level for the food actually. Now, this we are working in oil and gas sector actually. Just this is the view, what are the sensors are there and what information being processed and finally sent to the base station. And we also work on mining sector, some of these sensors, and finally we do. Now on big data analytics, actually, we are working with aircraft engine actually. So goal is to development of intelligent online health management system for aircraft engines to reduce maintenance cost and improve reliability. And this is what the dashboard, which says fault diagnosis and prognosis of aircraft engine. And these are some of the clients for my products. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Interesting. Yeah. So, of course, you know, the smart city project with the satellite and other competing or alternate aerial platforms as HAPS or drones or, balloons. So there's a lot of activity in that space. With that, I'll now turn to Raghuram, who has, very good experience of deploying some of these IoT applications in the Bay Area. So Raghuram, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vikram. Yeah, good morning to everyone. And my name is Raghuram. I'm associated with a company called Cognito Networks, headquartered in the Bay Area. And we have an office in Bangalore also. And we are basically into IoT, Internet of Things technology. And we focus on IoT software. So just to give you an idea of IoT, we all talk about Internet of Things. And IoT has three different parts to it. One is the sensor. The other is gateway. We call it protocol gateways. And then the IoT software itself. All these three combined forms an IoT solution. So as you know, in a smart city without sensor networks or without IoT enabled, smart city is not very smart. So you need to have IoT enabled devices in a smart city. So IoT, when I talk about IoT enabled devices, they all are different type of devices. They are not the same what we talk about from the computer, what we communicate and things like that. Those are different. But IoT devices itself, the sensor data. So sensor is the one that creates or generates data. So the sensor talks to the gateway. Now, the communication of this sensor talking to the gateway, there are lot of different, many different standards. For example, ZigBee is a very common standard within an enterprise. So if you have sensor data within an enterprise, it could be for let me start with applications, then we can come back to this. See, there are many different applications, IoT applications, like badge access is an application. Anything that uses sensors is an application. You can create an application, like badge access is an application. Door access is an application. Security and surveillance is an application. Okay, and then you have temperature monitoring is an application. Light sensor, humidity sensors, okay, and parking lot is an application. So all these are different applications, and street lights monitoring, smart metering, water management, all these are sensor-based applications, STP management, and so on and so on. So whenever there is enterprise generates data, sensor data, it is normally transported over protocols like ZigBee and Wi-Fi. So coming back to the infrastructure point of view, you need to have the right Wi-Fi and ZigBee or Bluetooth. Those kind of infrastructure should be enabled in an enterprise. Then that's not it. After the sensor, when it moves to the gateway, protocol gateway, which can support 140 or plus protocols from BACnet, Modbus, because from your chillers to boilers, all these different things have different protocols. So monitoring this, again, the gateway is a different ball game. Basically, gateway uses their protocol gateways, so it collects data from sensors that is generated. Even though sensors generate kilobits of data, the polling is another factor. So it can generate many times, it can generate only once. You know, it again depends on your application. Then the gateway aggregates all these information, and there may be multiple gateways. And gateway will communicate with the IoT software. The IoT software can reside in the public cloud, like Azure or AWS and Oracle Cloud and other things, or it can be in a private cloud, or it can be in fog, as we say, decentralized locations, or it could be on the edge. That means it can be in the enterprise itself. So coming back to our smart city, we have not just enterprises, small enterprise, but we have e-governance, and there will be huge amount of data. In an enterprise, normally about 25 types of sensors will be there. Now you just imagine multiply it by 1,000, and then again multiply it by another 100. So there will be plenty of data that will be generated. Again, depending on where this gateway, the IoT software is placed, that communication is very important. So coming back to the fiber optic infrastructure, I believe in fiber optic communication, okay? Because I come from that world, and I know how important and that highway is. Whatever you may do, you may have wireless, 4G, 5G, everything, but finally it has to come down to the fiber optic because of the low latency and other things. And that is the way that highway has to be built, and we need to have the smart infrastructure for that. And Amaravati is the right example, because you are starting on a clean slate, that is a green field. So where you can start with fiber optic, then you can decide on the protocols for IoT, whether it's LoRa. LoRa is like 1.5 kilometer to 15 kilometer distance it can cover. So LoRa gateways you can have for street light monitoring and other things, and ZigBee in the enterprise. So all these can be standardized, whether it's Wi-Fi or ZigBee or LoRa in the for long distance. All this can be standardized, but finally it has to reach the IoT software. So where is the IoT software? Is it in the public cloud? Whether it is in the private cloud, that has to be decided. So not only this IoT data generated by sensors, but you will also have plenty of database traffic, video traffic, because one of the applications in IoT is the surveillance. Surveillance is nothing but monitoring, right? And then in that case, when you have streaming video that is coming from a security camera on a street corner or wherever it is, it has to be in real time and low latency. How do you do that? You can't have your mobile phone and capture it and send it. By the time the crime scene would have, elapsed. So you need to have those instant information that flows from the whatever you capture to the command and control center. Command and control center is the place where everything will be monitored. So it has to first reach the IoT software where the data normalization is done, and then it is sent to the command and control center for further processing. So I just want to add one more thing before I close. Cognito Network also we have an IP, intellectual property, in IoT software where we have a policy engine. So that means two different applications from multiple vendors can interoperate. This is a huge advantage, because now if you take door access system from Johnson Controls and something else from Honeywell, something else from somebody else, they don't talk to each other. They're all silos, what we term it as silos. That means they're all individual networks, they have their own management. But what we do as a IoT software, we can interoperate. There's a key in IoT. If you already have sensor networks, don't remove that. Let it be there. The IoT will come on top of that, and it will interoperate between all these things, so that the policies, we have a policy engine that can ride or flow through all these different applications. So I can give you many different use cases on these applications, how the policies will be effective. Okay, so door access should talk to...
Thank you, Raghuram. I think that's very interesting. You bring up a very important point, and that point is about fiber. So the fiber density in the country is really not there. It really has to ramp up, and folks like Deepak are very keen, they see it as a good business. And the other point is about latency. So, latency again, depending on what the application is, will again be an important one. Like an autonomous car would require really low latency, very high bandwidth, but other sensors may, if you're polling once a day. With that, I'll turn to Lieutenant General Dr. S.P. Kochhar. So he's the CEO of Telecom Sector Skill Council and was the Signal Officer in Chief of the Indian Army Signals. So obviously all this talk about, becoming smart will depend on smart people and, smart and skilled manpower. So, sir, your thoughts about the smart manpower for the smart city?
Thank you, Vikram. Listening to all the experts, I actually forgotten what I came to talk about. So I'm just going to talk what comes to my mind. I am looking at smart cities as a natural phenomena which has occurred. This has been occurring historically. When, if we go back in time, we saw a lot of positive disruption happening because of civil engineering. We said that our lives have changed. Then came mechanical, then electrical, then electronics. And now information age, and hence smart cities. It had to happen. The question is that the speed at which it is happening is because we are dealing in the information age. And we've been hearing various speakers, and what is emerging is that the rate of change is tremendously faster than what we've been used to so far. And a lot of new technologies are coming into the fray. A lot of convergence is happening when it comes to the user. And therefore, the aspirations of the user are also going up. Now, if we look at it critically, here we have people who have to visualize the entire thing, have to plan the entire networks, then have to implement it, and then exploit and maintain it. In all the previous fields of engineering, this aspect of getting the human beings to do this to do all these tasks has been entrusted to the companies who've been rolling out all the stuff themselves. The change of pace, the pace of change was not very fast, and hence the companies could cope up, and they were siloed, and hence the interoperability did not really matter. What we are now seeing is, we are seeing a lot of convergence in roles happening. Infrastructure companies have started talking about data analytics, they started talking about IoT, which never happened earlier. So we find that the manpower who's actually going to roll this out, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, supposing there's no trained manpower who is there to roll out all these concepts that my colleagues have been talking about, then we are actually ending up into chaos. The second question which I'm going to ask the audience is that, do you think that the companies themselves are geared up to do peripheral things like training manpower and getting them onto the job in the manner that they think fit, and then also plug into the entire whole? I mean, it's not going to happen. We have developed technical standards because there was a need to develop technical standards. We are now getting into skill standards because various companies have different standards of rollouts, but they have to work in the entirety of the network, and hence people who are required to roll out these networks, to maintain this network, so even to exploit the networks, will require to be skilled. Now, I come from a company which is called Telecom Sector Skill Council, and this is a PPP between the Government of India and all the major telcos of the country. And the purpose for which we were created was precisely this. We get the requirements from the industry and convert that into standards for the Indian region, and then we get people and train them to be employable for the companies for whom we work. We are not for profit, hence our motive is not profit, but our motive is to get people trained for the requirements which are posed by the companies. And we sit with them and we decide what are the requirements which are going to come up in the next few years so that we can actually equip the ecosystem and get these people trained. For this purpose, we have about 2,100 centers across the country which do skilling, and we have 623 colleges affiliated to us. Now, if I look at it from the point of view of students, the Government of India keeps talking about gap between employability and availability. Now, we have a huge population which is available to be employed. We have a huge industry which wants to employ people, but they are not employable. So that is where people like us come in, and we bridge the gap between the industry and the unskilled manpower. In the days to come, this requirement is going to become huge. It's going to become humongous, and I think the parent companies cannot cope up with it by themselves. They have to get an ecosystem in place. This is the right time to take advantage of what the Government of India is doing in Skill India. A separate ministry itself has been set up to help get people skilled for employment, including in private industry. So government is spending money to get people skilled because that is their social responsibility, but the spin-off is that the companies actually reduce the expenditure to skill people and get things rolling faster. I would strongly suggest that you must take advantage of this initiative of the government and get people skilled as per the standards which have been created by you yourselves through us, and in that manner contribute not only to your bottom line but also to the social aspect for this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General Kochhar. With that, before we take up some questions, we have Vinay Thapliyal with us, and they've been participating in the smart city and smart metering initiatives. So over to you, Vinay.
Yeah, hello. So I'm being last but not least. So from STMicroelectronics, we are the, we can say, technology enablers. I would like to just bring back to the discussions point where Mr. Raghuram was working on and trying to elaborate different technologies which are going to be for the smart cities, which is going to obviously go back to the lot of software integration to happen. Here, many times we see the dilemma of discussion that which technology is best compared to the other. So that's where it's a, I can say it's a last milestone of the discussion on the IoT front, but that's many times a lot of discussion around it, and that's where also the dilemma of standardization comes. So here we find that the different use cases in the smart cities are working and having the different technologies around it. We talked about Wi-Fi, which can be a very best suitable for certain cases, but also we touched about the long range technology on the LoRa, which is also enabling a lot of very good use cases for battery operated application. To give example, we talk about the smart city, the waste management, smart dustbins, or even the smart the water management, water meters. So these are some use cases where battery, in fact, one of the survey we say that in IoT domain, more than 70% of the nodes, sensor nodes, would be battery operated. So that means that these kind of technologies, the different technologies from short range to very high range, are going to coexist together. They are going to have their different use cases together. But yes, what I strongly feel that even being the different these use cases with different technologies, they should have the harmonized structure. Ultimately, one more thing we talked about is the silos, that maybe one smart city which is going to be the best one is going to be the milestone for others. So at this moment, multiple smart cities working on different structures, and that's where the harmonization and the standardization comes into picture. So for us, it's very important that the integration of these different technologies together on the standardization, on the harmonizing from last milestone to the gateways, that kind of data structure, because in fact in some examples we take from our cases that different let's say one water meter or one electricity meter, they have the almost similar data, but these data today are talking on different different bytes. They are not talking, though they are the same data, but though the protocols can be different, the data which has to be extracted from it, still that is different. So that becomes a challenge, because if we are going to work in a direction, we have seen some bodies, we are seen one of the very good initiative from CDOT coming on 1M2M on the common service layer. But going to the last milestone standardization would certainly make it one of the the connecting the last milestone with the smart city. That's, I think, is also one of the last comment from my side to conclude it.
Vinay, thank you very much. I think the requirement for standardization is very important. So I would encourage everyone to participate at the TSDSI, which is the India Telecom Standards thing. There is a TRAI open house on M2M in Bombay on 26th. Those of you who are interested could participate in that. With that, I think the organizers will allow a couple of questions. A couple of questions, please. Yes, please state your name and the question, please, and the organization.
Hi, good morning to everyone. My name is Gaurav. And I've been hearing the panel discussions, and I've been hearing the way all the eminent panelists have looked at the evolution of communication. But one thing that I've noticed is that everybody seems to be looking at communication from the way it stands today, which is human-to-human communication. What we also need to think about is what differences will machine-to-machine communication will have in terms of characteristics, in terms of data rates, in terms of bandwidth, latency, etc., when we think about standardizing some machine-to-machine communication protocols, right? I represent a company called Sigfox. We are the only company globally that has commercialized low-power wide area networks. And we are now rolling out the low-power wide area network in India. And I would love to get an opportunity to meet people one-on-one to talk about how we will benefit the entire machine-to-machine ecosystem, primarily because the requirements for machine-to-machine are very different from human-to-human. So adapting cellular technology to compensate for machine-to-machine might be an overkill from a complexity and a power requirement.
So we get your point absolutely there, and what I would suggest is please do participate in the discussions at the TRAI. TRAI has put out an open house consultation. If you have some suggestions or inputs, even now you can go and submit that and be, like I said, at Bombay on 26th. And you could, there is an expert group in the Department of Telecom looking at M2M standardization and some issues there. Provide your inputs there. Right?
Wonderful. Thank you, Vikram.
Great. There's a question there, and after that I'll request Deepak. He wanted to share something they've actually done in Kakinada. So first the question and then Deepak. Yes, please, the gentleman in the white shirt.
This is Vivek. I represent DXC Technology, erstwhile HP Enterprises. I joined late. Maybe this question has already got answered, but I mean, I see a lot of people out here making a lot of point of views, right? And all these stands as a point of view right now. And we talked about standardization, we talked about different products. But in terms of Indian space, and I would say city by city, do we know what is the prioritization for us? How government is prioritizing different aspects of smart city, whether it is more on security, whether it is more on surveillance, whether it is road safety or any other use case. So what is the top 3 priorities we are looking at where I think a lot of these software players or gateway players or standardization would happen and it will converge there?
So what, while I'm not fully aware of what the priorities are, but what one can, from the tracking that we've been doing is, I would recommend that you get in touch with the identified smart cities. If Varanasi is identified smart cities, then within Varanasi, their local government which applied to be part of the smart city program, because they would then have allocated priorities for themselves. Because what Varanasi may need, Chandigarh may not need the same thing, right? Like for example, the number of tourists coming in exceed the number of residents of that place. So my suggestion to you would be, reach out to the Urban Affairs Ministry at the center or the department like the one Dr. Nikhil was heading, and they would be able to guide you as to what kind of priorities or work, areas of work within their smart cities they are looking at, right? Okay. All right, Mr. Jain.
It's a very good question, but let me tell you, the whole audience, that smart city is a learning experience for state governments, is a learning experience for Government of India, as well as learning experience for telecom partners like us. What is happening, I think your question is right, is a different way the state governments are approaching differently. But what I am able to see a common thread among all state governments and smart cities, number one, everybody is going for surveillance. This is the first step, not started only this year, but maybe 2 years back or 3 years back. Second, everybody is talking about Wi-Fi. They are deploying Wi-Fi, whether it is a small way or other way. And the third common thread which I am able to see is everybody is going for a smart pole. Smart pole is an integrated pole on which you are able to provide mobile services, Wi-Fi services, CCTV surveillance and lot of products. Talking about others, like somebody is going for smart parking, somebody is going for smart energy, somebody is going for something else. So these are different. What Vikram has said, that state government has to take a decision in consultation with Ministry of Urban Development. But of course you are right, standardization, as Vipin has said, is a way of life. We have to do it if we have to see not only smart cities in isolation, but all smart cities integrated together in future. Thank
Last
you.
minute, Deepak.
Yes, so I'll just quickly answer both the questions, and add on top it. You should actually look for 3 documents. One is the smart city guideline. There are a lot of guidelines present over there. There are like 20, 21 solutions out there, which government of India mandated, it has to be part of whatever proposals. And, second thing is you should look at the smart city proposals. So it's not without an intent, just purposely somebody is doing something, it's been very carefully thought out that the city needs, Should read out the page number 45, 46 of a smart city proposal, you'll clearly get to know what, we did a deep analysis of all the smart city proposals that have been out, and we clearly, got the list of, top 3 priorities. Number 1 is transportation. At least, 30 to 34% of the budget has been allocated in ICT proposals for this kind of endeavors. Safety is another priority. And then environmental sensing and broadband has also been one of the top priorities, And just quickly adding on top, what cities have been doing, you should have a look at what Kakinada has been doing, They just set up a LoRa, a city-wide LoRa network for getting to all of those kind of sensor applications that would be coming at. And at this point of time, they're actually implementing parking, waste and environmental on top of LoRa. So that's all said and done, on top of a broadband network.
All right, thank you very much. We've run out of time and Tyagi. Okay, one sentence.
One sentence, I think, you guys will get confused. 6LoWPAN, LoRa, Zigbee, Wi-Fi, all the Sigfox. These are all technologies which will connect the sensors. So you don't worry about it. All of those are also can be deployed in different use case scenarios. Just wanted to make it.
All right, thank you very much. First to the members of the panel and everyone, please join me in appreciating all the members of the panel. I think they've shared a lot of expert views, and with that I hand back to the organizers.
Thank you very much. Before we close, I would like to request a chairperson to give out mementos to our speakers. Mr. Anil Kumar Jain. Mr. Deepak Sharma. Dr. Krishna Kumar. Mr. Raghuram. Lieutenant General S.P. Kochhar. Mr. Vinay Thapliyal. Mr. Vipin Tyagi. And may I request Mr. Shishir from Exhibition India to present a memento to esteemed chairperson, Mr. Vikram Tiwathia, who is the DDG COAI. Can we have a loud round of applause, please?